Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The presentation is about to begin. The Honorable Mr. Novian Fakih, lecturer at EIN Ponorogo. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this presentation. It is special occasion. We would like to have a presentation about assessing reading. Before the presentation begin, I would like to introduce the presenters. My name is Asad Afif and she is Hanifah Dwi Rahmawati. He is Faris Solahuddin and she is Liliani Tri Astuti Bayu Pelipur.
Hello, my name is Hanifah Dwi Rahmawati. In here, I will explain about genres of reading, micro skills, macro skills, and strategies for reading. The first, genres of reading. The meaning of genres of reading is a book or story category defined by style, content, and form. The genres of reading, there are three. The first, academic reading. General interest article, example in magazine, newspaper. Technical reports, example lab reports, professional journal articles. Reference material, dictionaries, online encyclopedias. Textbook, thesis, essays, papers, test direction, editorial, and opinion writing. The second is job-related reading. Message, example phone message, letters, email, memos, reports, schedule, labels, signs, announcement. The third is personal reading. Newspaper and magazine, emails, greeting cards, invitation, messages, text, notes, list, books. Schedule, example train, bus, plane, etc. Next, the difference of micro skills and macro skills for reading. The first, micro skills discriminate among the distinctive graphics or letter combination that produce a phoneme and orthographic patterns of English. The first of macro skills is recognize the rhetorical conventions of written discourse and their significance for interpretation. The second of micro skills is retain chunks of language of different lengths in short-term memory. The second of macro skills is recognize the communication functions of written text according to form and purpose. The third of micro skills process writing at an efficient rate of speed to suit the purpose. The third of micro skills is infer context that is not explicit by activating schemata or using background knowledge. The four micro skills is recognize a curve of words and interpret word order patterns and their significances. The four macro skills is from describe events, ideas, and so on, inference and connection between events, deduce cases and effects. The five of micro skills is recognize grammatical word classes. The fifth macro skills is distinguishes between literal and implied meanings. The sixth micro skills is recognize that a particular meaning may be expressed in the different grammatical forms. And the sixth of macro skills is detect culturally specific references and interpret them in the context of the appropriate cultural schemata. And the last micro skills of recognize cohesive devices in written discourse and their role in signaling the relation between and among classes. And the last of macro skills is develop and use a battery of reading strategies such as scanning and skimming, detecting discourse markers, guessing the meaning of words from context, and activating schemata to interpret text. And next, some principal strategies for reading comprehension. There are 10 some principal strategies for reading comprehension. The first, identify your purpose in reading a text. The second, apply spellings, rules, and conventions for bottom-up decoding. The third is use lexical analysis or prefixes, no roots, suffix, etc. to determine meaning. The fourth, quest at meaning or of word idioms when you aren't certain. The fifth, skim the text for the cues and for main ideas. The sixth, scan the text for specific information or name, dates, keywords. And the seventh, use silent reading techniques for rapid processing. And the eighth, use marginal notes, outlines, cards, or semantic maps to understand and retain information. And the ninth, distinguish between literal and implicit meanings. And the last, use discourse markers. In addition, however, Netherlands to process relation.
Types of reading. In the previous chapter, we saw both listening and speaking could be subdivided into at least 5 different types of performance. In the case of reading, variety of performance is derived more from the multiplicity of types of text than from the variety of overt types of performance. Nevertheless, when considering assessment procedures, several types of reading performance are typically identified, and they serve as organized of various assessment tasks. The first one is perceptive. In the keeping with the set of categories specified for listening comprehension, similar specifications are offered here, except with some differing terminology to capture the unique cues of reading. Perceptive reading tasks involve attending to the component of large stretch of discourse, such as letters, words, punctuation, and other grammatic symbols. Bottom-up processing is implied. The second one is selective. This category is largely an artifact of assessment format. Certain typical tasks are used to ascertain one's reading recognition of lexical, grammatical, or discourse feature of language within a very short stretch of language, such as picture cue tasks, matching, true or false, multiple choice, and so on. Stimuli include sentence, brief paragraph, and simple chart and graph. Brief responses are intended as well. A combination of bottom-up and top-down processing may be used. The third one is interactive. Include among interactive reading types are stretch of language of several paragraphs to one page or more in which the reader must, in a psycholinguistic sense, interact with the text. That is, reading is a process of negotiating meaning. The reader brings to the text a set of schemata for understanding it. And intake is the product of the interaction. Typical genres that lend themselves to interactive reading are anecdotes, short narrative, and description. Excerpts from longer text, questionnaires, memos, announcements, directions, recipes, and the like. The focus of an interactive task is to identify relevant features such as lexical, symbolic, grammatical, and discourse within texts of moderately short length with the objective of retaining the information that is processed. Top-down processing is typical of such tests, although some instances of bottom-up performance might be necessary. The fourth is extensive. Extensive reading, as discussed in this book, applied to the text of more than a page, up to and including professional article, essay, technical reports, short stories, and books. The purpose of assessment usually are to tap into a learner's global and unclear standing of a text, as opposed to ask text taker to zoom in on small details. Top-down processing is assumed for most extensive tasks. Designing assessment tasks. Perceptive reading. The first one, reading aloud. The test taker says separatist letters, words, and or short sentence and reads them aloud by the one in the presence of an administrator because the assessment is of reading comprehension. Any recognizable oral approximation of the target response is considered correct. The second is written response. The same stimuli are presented, and the text taker task is to reproduce the prop in writing because the transfer across different skills here. The test taker's response must be evaluated carefully. If an error occurs, you must determine its source that might be assumed to be a writing error, for example, may actually be a reading error and vice versa. The third is multiple choice. Multiple choice response are not only a matter of choose one of 4 or 5 possible answers. Other formats, some of which are especially useful at the low level of reading, include same or different, circle the answer, true or false, choose the letter, and matching. Picture cue items. Text taker are shown a picture such as the following, along with written text and are given one of a number of possible tasks to perform. Matching can be an effective method of assessing reading at this level. With object label A, B, C, D, and E in the picture, finally, test taker might see a word or phrase and then be directed to choose one of 4 pictures that is being described, thus requiring him or her to transfer from a verbal to a non-verbal mode.
The next one is selective reading assessment. So, what is selective reading assessment? In selective reading assessment, we simply select one correct answer among the other answers provided in the assessment. So, what's the purpose of this assessment? This assessment is purposed to assign recognition of lexical, grammatical, or discourse features of language. So, many say that this selective reading assessment is vocabulary and grammar assessment, although it's not feature all the four uh, English basic skills that should be featured in this form of assessment. So this selective reading assessment can take form of picture cue tasks, matching true or false, multiple choice, and etc. Then what's the form of the question of the stimuli? The stimuli includes sentences, brief paragraph, and simple chart or graph. The first type of selective reading is multiple choice assessment. It is undoubtedly most used or most popular choice for the teacher due to the advantages such as easier to administer and it is easier to score. Although such as advantages, it has many disadvantages such as it is quizable, it is easier to cheat, and it provides a little context which is lack of jointedness. Let's see the instance below. The most is blah 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 the bed. Uh, in these questions, the student is asked to select one correct answer among the four others. This kind of item may lead student into disjointedness or discontinuity. Thus, it is recommended to provide a little more context to solve it. Let's see another example. In this example, it contains more context in the questions and then it also has continuity from number 29 up to number 31. So this type of assessment doesn't help students to respond the items easily, but it allows the learner to attend to one set of related sentences for each item that assess vocabulary and grammar. So this type of assessment also has a weakness, which is it contains dependencies because if students get wrong in one question, they can also get wrong in the next question. Let's take 30 and 31 as examples. If students get wrong in 30, they will get wrong in 31. So this is the meaning of dependencies, and we have to prevent it. The next selective assessment is matching tasks. So in this task, student is asked to select word correctly to match it in the blank spot. Let's see the examples. We have two rows in this example, which is the left one and then the right one. Student is asked to select the left row to the right row, which is each match. As for instance, exhausted is has its match to tired, and then disappointed to unhappy, and etc. So this type of assessment has advantages, which is easier to construct because it is really simple, and then the test taker is trained to be careful in choosing. It has also disadvantages, which is it is bring a problem solving rather than comprehension. So how do teacher enhance this type of assessment? This is the answer. Teacher may modify it to add communicative quality to matching by adding a set of sentences with blanks and list of words to choose from. So in the above, we have the questions contain some context with full sentences, and then we provide the answer in the below, and then student is asked to select the correct or the appropriate answer to the questions. The next one, we have editing task. This type of selective assessment is designed to as linguistic competence in reading, such as grammar or syntax. Let's see the examples. The appraisal reaction of the wind wears away softer layers of rock. We have to find the wrong word that should not be on this question or sentence. So this type of assessment, student has to find the error word which should not be in the sentence. The next one, we have picture cue task. So this assessment contains a picture that student has to comprehend it to answer the question. There are two kinds of picture cue tasks, which are visual representation and then the definitions. The visual representation, I'm sorry, it has a mistake. It should not has students are asked to test taker. Instead, test taker is asked to read a sentence or passage and choose one of four picture described. So it has similarity with the multiple choice assessment. The difference is the answer is a picture instead of a writing. And then the definition. In definition, student is provided with a picture and then it has labeling. So student has to label the picture or describe the part of the picture provided in the question. The next one, we have gap filling task. So this task requires students to fill the blank spot with a word or phrase. Let's see the example. So the first sentence is designed to as the stimuli or the clue to answer the gap to it. So student has to fill the blank spot with some appropriate word or phrase that is related to the stimuli provided in the first sentence. So this kind of assessment has a drawback or weakness, which is requiring both writing and reading, which has low validity in reading as the sole criterion. The next type of reading assessment is extensive reading. Extensive reading assessment involves longer text than other types of assessment. So in this extensive reading, student is asked to read a long text and then the assessment can be various. Can be journal articles, technical report, longer essays, short story, books, or etc. Extensive reading mostly involves a focus on meaning using mostly top-down processing with only occasional use of targeted bottom-up strategy. Thus, the text contains some information that should be comprehended by the students rather than students give information to the text. Although this advanced strategy, the formal assessment of extensive might not be held because it takes a long time to assess. First type of extensive reading is summarizing and responding assessment. So, in summarizing, students are asked to write summary in certain limit and include students' understanding of main idea and supporting idea. So, this type of assessment is focused on understanding the main idea and supporting the idea. So, how do teacher evaluate or score the quality of the summary types of assessment? Email used for criteria to evaluate summary, which are express accurately the main idea and supporting ideas. So the quality is whether the summary has explained the main idea and supporting ideas clearly or not, and then is written in students' own words, or it is uh, being paraphrased by students and not copy paste from the sheet. Although occasional vocabulary from the original text is acceptable, and then is logically organized, and then the last one is displays facility in the use of language to clearly express ideas in the text. It has a variety of language uh, which is just scored from students' vocabulary uses. Though that some principle in scoring summary, it it is still difficult because it contains subjectivity of determining an accurate reflection of the article itself. Every teacher has its comprehension or its opinion about the article itself. So the different teacher could be has this different scoring on the student's assessment in summary. I thought the idea of quality in summarizing contents demonstrates clear, unambiguous comprehension of the main and supporting ideas, demonstrates comprehension of the main ideas but lacks comprehension of the supporting ideas, demonstrates only partial comprehension of the main and supporting ideas, or either demonstrates no comprehension of the both main and supporting ideas. Next, we have skimming tasks. The form of skimming tasks contains some questions that related to the main idea or reading matter in the text provided as the clues. So, what is the meaning of skimming? Skimming is a process of rapidly covering reading matter to determine its case or the main idea. Skimming task, the objective is giving reader a sense of topic and purpose of the text, the organization of the text, the perspective or point of the view of the writer, the easier or difficulty on the text or its usefulness. The difference between the skimming task and summarizing task is in the questions form. In summarizing task, the question is only to ask students to write their comprehension or their understand on the worksheet, and then in the skimming task student is asked to more specifically, which is such as in what is the main idea of this text, and then what is the author's purpose in writing text, and etc.
Next, designing assessment tasks, interactive reading. Tasks in this level focus on form and meaning but emphasize meaning. Interactive tasks require a higher degree or focus on top-down processing than on bottom-up processing. The text is presented longer, from one paragraph to a page or more in the case of ordinary prose. Close text. Popular reading assessment task close procedure was created by educational psychologists to capture the Gestalt psychological concept of closure. That is, the ability to fill in gaps in incomplete or visual, auditory, or cognitive image and omitted details from background schemas. The close test is a sentence length of at least two paragraphs to take into account discourse expectation. The choice between the two assessment methods is one of practicality or reliability versus faith validity. Improper reading plus comprehension question. For decades, close testing was a very popular procedure for assessing reading because its integrative nature seems to offer a practical means of testing the overall understanding is rather indirect. Strategies of effective reading is skimming for the main idea, scanning for details, guessing for meanings from context, inferencing, and using discourse markers, among others. The construct assessment begins by defining the constructs or abilities to measure in the test page. Short answer toss. A popular alternative to multiple choice questions following reading passage is the age-old short answer format. A reading passage is presented and the test taker reads question that must be answered, usually in written form in a sentence or two. Editing longer text. Imao 2001 created a grammar editing test that introduced one error in each numbered sentence. Test takers were instructed to identify the letter in each sentence that corresponded to an error. Next, scanning. Scanning is a strategy used by all readers to find relevant information in a text. The assessment of scanning is carried out by presenting test takers with a text, prose, or something in a chart or graph format, and requiring rapid identification of relevant bits of information. Sequencing. Sequencing is with this technique, students receive strips of paper, each with a sentence on it, and then assemble them to create a story. Variations on these techniques can serve as an assessment of the overall global understanding of a story in the cohesive device that signal the sequence of events or ideas. And the last, information transfer by reading charts, maps, graphs, and diagrams. The act of comprehending graphics includes the linguistic performance of oral or written interpretation, command, question, and so on. This implies a process of information transfer from one skill to another, in this case, from understanding symbolic or nonverbal information to speaking or writing. So guys, thank you for your attention. And last say thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye, see you next time.